Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Christina from Our Wood Home. This is the second video in my Christmas baking series, and as you can tell from the title, we're going to be talking about fruitcake today. I know fruitcake is kind of a hit and miss dessert, although I think most people dislike it. It's actually really well liked in my family. Not everybody, but enough people that I enjoy making it and sharing it with them. So this recipe is one that I modified from an old cookbook. I believe my mother-in-law's mother would make fruitcake. The cookbook came from her house with some of her notes in it. I've never had her fruitcake, but I like to think that this one is just as good. As usual, I will be linking the full tutorial for making this in the description of this video, but I'll also read out the recipe for you so you can follow along and see what I'm doing. I will let you know that this recipe is a 2-day event. You want to first start by soaking fruit. So let me tell you what you need and then I'll talk about how you make this recipe. You're going to need 4 cups of dried fruit or a fruitcake mix that you can buy at bulk food stores. You'll need 3 cups of flour, 1 cup of shortening or butter, 1 cup of sugar, 4 eggs, and about 4 cups of liquid. I usually use orange juice, but if you want to bake with alcohol, you can use rum or whiskey or some type of spiced alcohol like that. To start, if you are using dried fruit, you're going to want to chop that up. Or if your fruitcake mix is already cut, you can move on to the second step. You're going to place all the fruit or fruitcake mix in a large bowl and cover it with about 4 cups of liquid. Soak that overnight at room temperature. The next day you will strain that fruit, but don't discard the juice. Keep it for a later use. Cream your shortening or butter with your sugar, and then add the eggs and beat well. I am making this vegan in this particular video, so instead of using eggs, I used banana. The next step is to add 1 cup of flour to the drained fruit and mix it well to coat. If you skip this step, all your fruit will sink to the bottom of the fruitcake, which is okay if that's what you're going for, but I think it tastes and looks better if the fruit is evenly distributed. Now you're going to add the remaining flour to the creamed mixture and add any reserved juice. I don't think adding the full 4 cups of juice or whatever is remaining is going to be applicable for everybody. I did about 2 cups of liquid and that was sufficient. If your batter is looking a bit dry, you can add a little bit extra drained liquid. Once that's all mixed together, the last step is to carefully fold in the fruit. You're going to then pour this into 2 greased pans. I used cast iron loaf pans, but you can also make it in a bundt cake pan or even a 9x13 casserole dish, really whatever you have. This is going to bake for 2 hours and 15 minutes in a low oven. It's only at 275 degrees Fahrenheit. Once that's finished, you're going to take it out of the oven and test it with a cake tester to make sure it is cooked all the way through. If not, put it in for a few more minutes, just keep an eye on it. I know traditionally fruitcake is wrapped in alcohol-soaked cloths to keep it fresh, but that's not something that we do. Once it's cooled, I'll cut it up and then just wrap it in plastic wrap or foil and keep that in the freezer until closer to Christmas when I start giving it out. I think you could probably wrap it and store it at room temperature, but that's not something I'm interested in doing. I don't intend for this fruitcake to last months and months or anything like that, but if you wanted to, you go right ahead. The reason people would wrap fruitcake in alcohol-soaked cloth is because they wanted to keep it fresh for as long as possible without refrigeration. If you were to just leave a fruitcake on the counter, even just in a plastic bag or covered with a dry cloth, it's going to mold pretty quickly because it's so moist and there's so much fruit in it. But alcohol can help kill bacteria, so that's why they would wrap it in an alcohol-soaked cloth. If you had some cool storage that you wanted to try this in, You could definitely do that. I personally have no experience, so I can't really tell you what to do, but if you do decide to wrap your fruitcake in alcohol-soaked cloth, please let me know how that turns out. I think fruitcake is so interesting because it has a unique history. People would use fruitcake as a way to preserve their summer or fall fruit and harvest, and by baking it into a cake that was then soaked in alcohol, they were able to keep this produce a little bit longer than if they had just kept it in a root cellar or something like that. Knowing that there is some type of preservation history with fruitcake makes me want to make it all the time. I really like making and eating this fruitcake. Since there is not alcohol in mine, it's safe for everyone to eat, but if you are using alcohol, don't worry, it does cook off during that baking time. I sometimes make a glazed topping for my fruitcake using a little bit of powdered sugar and some of the extra liquid, and then pour that on the cake when it's finished cooking but still hot. I did that on a different fruitcake using alcohol as the liquid. That is not going to be safe for everyone to eat since it does have alcohol that did not cook off. So if you choose to do that, just make sure you are serving it to people who are legally old enough to drink wherever you are. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Even if you're not a fan of fruitcake, I hope you still liked seeing how it's made. Let me know if you decide to make this recipe, and be sure to head over to my blog post, which is linked in the description of this video, for a more detailed set of instructions. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.